Good evening, everybody, and how are we all doing today? This is our Sunday night Podding Shed live, a chance for us to all have a bit of a chit chat about gardening. Um, Now, today, what I'm asking, I want you to tell me what is it about Grow Your Own that makes you want to grow your own food? What is it that forces you to pick up that spade and grow your own food? That's the overriding question that I'm asking, and I'll get into my own personal thoughts on that in just a moment. First of all, let's see who's fallen into the ranks and is here today. So first of all, we've got Ballycillian saying hello, Richard, and hello all. Good evening to you. We've got Adrian also saying hello. Good evening to you. Idaho Garden Girl is there. Good evening to you. Oracle is there. Hello, Army, and Stuart Jackson over in Facebook. Hope everyone has had a good week. Lovely to see you as well. What else? Who else have we got? Anna Jones has joined. Good evening to you. Lovely to see you. Um, Idaho says my tomatoes are just getting ripe. I tried to find all my pumpkins. Something has been gnawing on them, so I've been raising them up and potting on overturned laundry baskets. All good fun, isn't it? This grow your own lark. Turbo Stream, good evening, podcasters. Good evening to you. Gary Filler has joined. Hello to you. Good evening to you. Have I missed anybody? Want to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Hargrave Gas, evening all. Hope you've had a good week. Chilly here now all of a sudden. It is chilly, isn't it? I've actually had to put the heater on underneath this desk just to take the chill out of the air. It completely threw me. Nicola Cornish Heaven has joined. Good evening to you. Where else have we got? Digwell is saying hello. Evening all. What's going on here then? Um, Kate Spratt, good evening, Veg Army. Good evening to you. Richard Golden, of course. Good evening to you. My dad has joined. Good evening to you, as has Margaret. Good evening to you. Limby has joined. Good evening to you. Lovely to see you. Who else have we got? I think that is it. So keep them comments coming in. If I haven't read your name out, please do keep commenting and I will try and see. Oh, as I say that, Stuart Jackson, evening, Richard, and the Veg Army. Good evening to you. So, yes, everyone is here, present and correct. So, lovely to see you as always. Um, the question I'm asking this week is why do you grow your own food? And this is a question a bit philosophical, but it's a question that strums into the bottom of what I really do here at the Veg Grower Podcast. I'm all about growing our own food, be it from a self-sustainable nature, the prepper nature, anything like that is what I'm looking to find answers for. For me, I grow my own food because it's just something that I seem to always be drawn to. I remember watching programs like The Good Life and things like that and being fascinated with that way of life. The idea of just being able to walk out into your garden and pick tonight's dinner. That's something that I always aspire to. And it's certainly something that we can achieve here at Veg Grower Podcast HQ. Added to that, this common day in this current climate, with it being about food miles and reducing our pollution and our carbon footprint. The fact that I can walk out into my garden, pick up some food, to me just sings home about reducing that carbon footprint. So that's just a couple of the thoughts that I have onto why I grow my own food. So what's everyone saying in the chat? Now, Turbo Stream saying it's a tad chilly in Birmingham, but the heating is definitely not getting turned on till October. Now, we're not turning our heating on at all this year. We're going to be burning lots of wood, which is piling up. 2.5 degrees C here at 10 a.m. this morning in the Shire. It certainly was cold. The mornings definitely have been cold this last week. Anything Anything else? Now, Hargrave Gas has came in with this question. I grow my own, answering my question. I grow my own food because I enjoy the process, but also because homegrown tastes so much better. That's something I certainly agree with. Homegrown food tastes so much better. Tomatoes are a good example. Anything that we buy from a supermarket and even a farmer's market, they don't taste quite the same as that tomato that's just picked off the vine in your garden, does it? Um, I liken the supermarket tomatoes to being tasting like cotton wool. Uh, what we get from our own homegrown is so much better. Kate Spratt, I was so happy to finally get to the back on the plot after my injury. Got my fence and gate pot up yesterday. For me, grow your own is incredibly satisfying. The minute a seedling pops up is always so exciting. Nothing tastes as good as growing your own. Absolutely. So that's another one who says grow your own is all about the flavour of the food. And I do agree. The flavour of the food is so much better. And that I liken gardening to feeling this is might offend some people, and I mean no offense. Just bear with me while I explain it. But when you grow a plant from seed, you've got a feeling like you're God, and I mean that because you take this tiny little seed and it bursts into life and it grows and becomes this huge plant that you then use to feed yourself and your family. That to me has a godlike quality to it. So definitely something going on there. Um, but Kate, I do want to say I'm glad to see you are back on your allotment, back down your garden. Please don't injure yourself by doing too much too soon either. Um, we don't want to. We don't want to return to being unable to get to the allotment. Turbo Stream says my shed is full of wood, ready for the winter. Yep, we've got plenty of wood just stacked up, needing to be cut down, but it's all ready to go and ready for the ready to be burnt. We're going to be doing a lot of burning this year. Lynn B, I don't like shop tomatoes, but homegrown is absolutely delicious. I agree. Homegrown tomatoes are a cut above the rest when it comes to tomatoes. Strawberries are another really good example of how food tastes so much better when you grow your own. Fresher, better. They don't last as long, admittedly, but they taste so much better compared to supermarket stuff. And Anna Jones says the sense of accomplishment you get when you harvest and cook something you've grown yourself. I agree. I completely agree. We've all done those meals where you cook the meal, you sit down with your partner or whoever you may be feeding your family, and you turn around and you say, everything on this plate we have grown. It's absolutely something satisfying, pleasing about that, isn't it? It's just absolutely fantastic, absolutely mind blowing in some ways. Uh, Lim B says her favourite is definitely runner beans. Totally agree with that. Runner beans are a good one. I don't actually. I'm not keen on runner beans in some ways, but my wife likes them, and she grows. She wants me to grow more of them. I prefer the French beans and the broad beans, but runner beans are definitely much better when you grow your own. Ernie says, good evening, Richard and viewers. Listening while ridding weeds around our ash tree. We started growing our own veg as we have space, time, and it's organic. We do buy from local farmers nearby. Organic, that's another point that is on my list of notes. Organic, knowing what conditions, what has been put onto your food is very important to me. I try to be as organic as possible. And when I say I try to be as organic as possible, I don't call myself organic because I haven't got a certification, but we don't really add chemicals or anything like that. And there's so many tests to get that organic certification that I don't feel I'm quite able to call myself an organic gardener. But we do not use chemicals. We don't use weed killer. We don't use bug spray. We just deal with it. We use nature to our advantage, which is something I'm very keen on everything. By the way, don't forget this one here, 07307 135 174. If you want to call in, I have tested the phone, so it should be should be working absolutely fine. Unless it goes weird like last week. Added to that, if you want to zap in, just add the link in the comments as well. Please do feel free to zap in and join in. Added to that, if you would be kind enough to give this show a thumbs up, a like, a follow, a subscribe, and click the notification so you know when we go live, even though we go live at the same time every week. Just also helps get us promoted as well. Cillian says, I could give many answers, but the main one has to be the pure pleasure of growing it gives me. What is the pleasure it gives you, Cillian? What is it? Is it just the sheer enjoyment you get out of it? What is it that gives you the pleasure? I like your answer. I just want to add some flesh to the bones to get it out. Idaho says, I've always wanted to be as self-sustaining as possible, so I focus on learning those skills. I like to be being able to save money, not expend gasoline to get to the store. It tastes better than store-bought. Good answers to this question. And self-sufficiently is a key one for me, and I believe the more people that grow their own food, the more self-sustaining we can become. And when things like the cost of living crisis we go through at the moment affect us, they won't affect us as much by growing our own food. You have to excuse me, I've had a bit of a cold this week, so I'm a bit bunged up and coffee, so apologies for that. And there's a weird knocking noise just outside there. Turbo Stream says, up until about 5 years ago, I hadn't thought of growing my own food. I dabbled with a few lettuce, etc., but my late snooker buddy had his allotment and I became interested then. Fantastic. So it was just your friend got you into it is why you started doing it. Fantastic, because that's actually something I did want to know. What is it about what made you pick up your fork? Rebecca has joined. Good evening to you. Lovely to see you. Idaho says, it's a good challenge and it's a wholesome activity. It keeps from just sitting in front of a TV or doing something worse. That's probably part of the reason why I don't have a TV anymore, because I'm always busy in the garden. So I'm with you, totally with you. Stuart Jackson says, I love growing my own because every bit of veg tastes so much better. Also, gardening is relaxing most of the time. I'm happiest when I'm in the garden. I agree with that. I think every one of us will probably turn around and say, I'm happiest when I'm in the garden. I certainly find that myself. I've used the example of when I was furloughed as sort of saying I was the happiest I've ever been because I spent so much time gardening. Turbo Stream, after my friend died this year, I took on his plot after looking at it during lockdown. I wouldn't be without it now. Indeed. Very, very, very tragic to hear about your friend Turbo Stream. I'm very sorry to hear that. Anna Jones says, lots more vitamins when fruit and veg is prepared and eaten straight from the garden. I agree with that as well. That's something that I always do feel is often overlooked. We all know that homegrown tastes better. And also it's fresher. The supermarkets, they have to buy varieties that are good for storage and are good for transportability, and flavour is right down the bottom of that list. But given that those vegetables, that fruit and vegetable can be on the shelf for a number of weeks before we even buy it, excuse me, all that nutrients and flavour is lost just in that process. Whereas, as we said, you go out in your garden, you pick something, it's nice and flavorful. So absolutely there. Idaho says, I don't use chemicals either, so definitely something to be said for that. What else have we got? Turbo Stream, it's a skill to be learned, forces some fresh air and exercise, and of course the eventual produce to eat. This is something I've always said about grow your own as well as a hobby. You get the workout you would get from a gym, you get the sociability you would get from going to the pub, you get food at the end of it as well. Everything is there to give you something. Oracle says, I started to get away from Millard. Am I pronouncing your wife's name correctly? Sorry. But she followed. We got at our plot as a pastime for something we could do together. But as we both sit down and talk about it and agree Millard is right. Sorry, I'm really struggling with that name today for some reason. Hopefully, I'm getting it right. Um, yeah, the wife is always right. Is the rule, isn't it? The wife is, but I think that's great that you as a couple do it together, and brings you together, gives you something to do and talk about. I've always sort of said with Amanda and I, we have quite a few interests, and because of that, we always have something to talk about. Digwell says, sadly, I'm giving up on celery. I've grown it for 4 years and it never tastes as nice as the supermarket's ones. Not worried as I have more space for other vegetables. Um, Now, celery is a pretty tricky plant to grow, isn't it? It's very, very tricky. But I think the key to celery is to remember, excuse me, it originates from the marine, so does need a lot of water. And I do wonder if it could benefit from a bit of salt water as well from time to time. Don't quote me on that. That's just a theory I have that I need to test. But definitely does need a lot of water. Jenny Hallett has joined. Sorry, better late than never. Just got in. Hope you are all well. No worries. Hope you are well. Nicholas says, have to come over to Facebook today. His internet is just being a real pain. Constantly buffering. I don't know if anybody else is having that trouble. I can't see it on my end, so who knows? Ballycillian, selecting the seed, nurturing the plant through the potting on stages and seeing it and tasting it on the plant, on the plate. That's what gives him the enjoyment. I asked him earlier to add some flesh to the bones about his what he enjoys about it. And it's the whole process of growing food. Chili Kate, working in the food industry and being a king cook, growing her own just seemed like a natural extension. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I totally see that. I think you often hear about the celebrity chefs who talk about growing their own tomatoes in their greenhouses and things like that. And some of the best restaurants that I've ever worked in would get a lot of their plants, a lot of their herbs, particularly from their garden. And some of the really good ones that I really enjoyed have a vegetable attached to the kitchen that they use to grow their own food. Very, very rare these days, usually out in the middle of nowhere. But some of the best restaurants actually grow their own food as well, in my opinion. That is. Uh, what? Who else have we got? Who else have we got? Jenny says health reasons for me. I react to the sprays and cleaning solutions used on fruit and veg. Also for me, time. I would be lost without it. I also feel some kind of control in life and current times. So health reasons is why Jenny is a keen grow your owner. Kate says it's been the single greatest thing for my mental health. Spending time on the plot is my self care when I feel at peace. Now I know there's a lot of people out there who are promoting gardening as a way of helping for people's mental health, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's definitely something that we should be doing or promoting to help our mental health as well as our physical health. Limby, we have a lovely apple tree. We've been foraging for blackberries. I've been making pies and crumbles, just delicious. I'm salivating already. But again, this is what we do. Grow our own apples. We make apple pie, apple crumbles, rhubarb pie, rhubarb crumbles. Elderberries at the moment are coming in. We use elderberries for other things. But yeah, get the idea. Making your own food, making your own meals out of what you have available. Digwell says, I started growing veg in my tiny garden to supplement purchased veg. I got addicted and applied for a pot. The rest is history. As we all know with Digwell's YouTube channel, he does a lot. Ballycinian says, another thing is in the shop, a carrot is a carrot, but growing your own, there is so many different varieties to try and taste. That's a good point. Sometimes a supermarket might sell the small dumpy carrots, but generally is just the big long carrots, the standard carrots. But growing your own, you can get purple, yellow, orange carrots, as well as short, dumpy, different styles, different, sometimes slightly different flavors. Some are sweeter, some are crunchier. But yeah, carrots is a very good example of something that you don't really get in a supermarket. Again, these are varieties that are good for transport and shelf storage life, not so much flavour. Idaho says, I've bought some organic fertilizers, but I'm learning more about making my own with comfrey or making fish fertilizer. Fantastic. Yeah, we making our own, being self sufficient is a key thing that I find. It's certainly anyway. Um, right, I'll come back to the comments in just a moment. Now, I'm trying to thrash this question out, trying to find out what it is about growing your own that you enjoy so much. And when I was thinking about this question, I was coming up with other questions that I would ask you to try and find out a bit more about it. So, one question that I wrote down is, what is it that made you pick up the spade in the first case? A few people have sort of said, such as Digwell, he only had a small garden, wanted to supplement his store bought, got addicted, and then it just grew from there. What is it that made you pick up the spade in the first place and start growing your own veg? For me, I was about 10 years old when I first started growing my own, and I lived in this house with my mum. And at the top, very top, there was this patch of land that, when my dad lived with us, was his vegetable patch, and it had gone to brambles in the time that after. And I just decided one day I was going to start. I don't know what it was, but I just wanted to grow my own food in that. So I dug it over, I picked it all up, I got it up and running. My uncle, my granddad came over, my aunties as well, all came over and were showing an interest as well. So it became this thing that got family involved too. And then from there, it just felt like a natural thing for me to do. As I said, I was fascinated with things like watching The Good Life and living that sort of life. So that possibly had something to do with it as well. What is it that made you pick up that spade? I should add, I don't know if I said I was 10 years old when I did that. It just seemed to feel right. Oh, excuse me. Turbo Stream says it's a chance to eat different veg that I wouldn't otherwise buy. Beetroot is expensive, but cheap and easy to grow. Indeed, yeah, it's definitely beetroot is a fascinating plant. It's got a earthy flavour with this red sweetness. It's delicious, but it is expensive. It is expensive, and people don't always know what to do with beetroot. It's one of those vegetables that often people relate to the pickled beetroot, and actually, beetroot is so much more than that. In fact, on tomorrow's podcast, you will hear a beetroot recipe that I've been sent in by a listener, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with everyone. Anna Jones says, reduce what you throw away and just pick what you need. A huge amount of shop bought salad in particular just gets binned. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. We have a local community fridge that takes that stuff that would get binned and passes it on to people for free, just so it doesn't go to landfill. But yeah, when you grow your own, you have less waste. And what there's no such thing as waste, in my opinion, in some ways, unless it's diseased. Everything gets composted, so it's not waste. It just goes on to help produce your plants next year. Oracle says, I think with the cost of living, there will be some people giving up, i.e., the ones that have lights, heat mats, etc. It's back to the old school. Yeah, you might be right there. You might be right there. We are certainly thinking about how we're going to be growing our own food in the winter months. Um, we're trying our hardest to keep our bills down. It's going to go up anyway. Don't think there's any change on that, but we're going to try our hardest to keep our bills down. Buddy City, great dig well. I'm looking at ways I could travel and stay at the Malvern show next year from Belfast. Oh, Malvern was this weekend. Did anybody go and how was it? Turbo Stream, my current lunchtime snack is pickled beetroot from a plot, a bit of mature cheddar, and a pickled onion. Was it World War II? Used to the farm gals beetroot sandwiches, which I've never tried, but I have got to try one day. beetroot sandwiches. Doesn't sound very appetizing, but I thought I'd give it a try. Graham Arnold, evening all. Hope everyone's well. And he goes on to say to Digwell, Buna Masala recipe. Yep, that got my mouth salivating. Absolutely delicious. Ballysiv, the reason I picked up the spade was I brought up in a gardening family. No, yeah, definitely brought up in a gardening family. I do feel there is an element that if your parents' garden, your grandparents' garden, and you do it with your parents and your grandparents, it just seems natural. I know that my granddad grew up on a plant nursery, and that's where I think my gardening instincts come from, just in the blood. Idaho says, I got interested as a child. I wanted to grow food for my family. And fantastic. Yeah, interested as a child and it stuck with you. Kate says, it all started for me when I got some free herb seeds from Marks and Spencer's. I loved the process of growing and seeing it all come to life, and I was hooked from there. That's really interesting, actually. Was that the one they did 2 years ago? Or was that more aimed at kids? Because a couple of years ago they did a whole thing. I only know it because Lee was working on it with them, where they went around and were trying to encourage people to grow plants. I think it was more aimed at kids, though, if I remember correctly. Digwell says, pop a quartered beetroot on the roast potato tray in the oven. Fantastic. I agree with that as well. Yeah, roast beetroot in with the potatoes. Oh, absolutely delicious, especially for Christmas dinner. Oh, absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. I'm getting really hungry now. My dad grew cotton, sugar beets, alfalfa, barley, and wheat. He grew a few vegetables. As a child, I couldn't relate to the acres of crops. I wanted to grow more of our food. This is a question because I was thinking about growing wheat at one point. I never did it, but I've been thinking about growing wheat just to see how much wheat we would need to grow to produce one loaf of bread. It's a question I'm always wondering. How much wheat do we need to produce one loaf of bread? How much ground do farmers need to produce one loaf of bread? Question. Jenny says, I'm old school and never used lights or heat mats, etc. Yeah, I mean, I do use them. I'll be honest, I do use them, and I feel they definitely help. And I do tend to do things quite a bit early for that very reason. But next year we may be ditching those. In fact, I think we will be. Beetroot sandwiches are lovely just from being cooked and cooled. No vinegar. I've got to try it. I've never tried it, but I will try it. Ernie says, I'm proud to say this. In 1980, after my dad left us, Mum had to go out and work, so I decided to grow my own veg. 4 years old, I grow my own veg. 4 years old, I think that is. I grew corn, runner beans, lettuce, tomatoes. Can't remember the rest. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing, and very, very. I'm glad you feel proud for that because you should. Absolutely fantastic. As Idaho says, that was a great response to the situation. Absolutely. Brian's Gardner and Polly Tunnel has joined. Good evening to you. Lovely to see you. Come on. Nicholas says Charles Dowden has grown rye this year. He just put out a video. Yeah. I'm useless at watching videos. Getting better, or was getting better, but it slipped again. Time stream. I'm using LED lights this year to grow lettuce over winter. It's a small amount of electricity will be made up by saving in one packet bagged lettuce from the shop. Yeah, I think you could be right there, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm trying to replicate at the moment people who are trying to replicate how people can who are struggling. I'll put it like that. Chili Phil says the best sandwich is cheese and beetroot. Beetroot must be well seasoned. I've not tried it, but I know Kate. You sent me an email that I haven't replied to, but I will do. Will be. cheese and beetroot. I'll have a word with a wife. You need to have a look at that site to save money and get loads of food. Which site is that? Is that the community fridge site from Richard Golding? Uh, So Joe in the Facebook group has joined. Good evening to you. And Anna Jones says, I started sowing, growing cuttings from houseplants and started sowing and collecting seeds. Then I just couldn't stop. Yeah, it is very addictive, this gardening game, isn't it? There's always that extra plant that we all want and just want to fit into our plots. And there's always room for one more plant, no matter what. For me, I'm terrible at the moment at finding the bargains. You know, the 10p plants. Keep finding those and adding those to my garden to expand the amount of plants I have. And what I'm doing with that is building them up and up and up to take cuttings to grow more food in various different areas. Maybe even looking at passing them as well once they are a bit bigger. It's all a lot of fun that we are doing at the moment. Well, I just want to take a quick break from this question at the moment. Please do keep your comments coming in. The phone line is open 07307 135 174. But I want to share something with you guys. Today, we had a task that we thought we would get done today, and it hasn't been completed. You all know I'm a big lover of greenhouses. I've got my greenhouse just down the garden from here at home. I've got Granddad's greenhouse on the allotment, and I've been talking about this second greenhouse, which is for my step granddad's. Well, my brother and I today took it down. It's on my allotment, but it's not been built. We had a lot of the nuts and bolts snap, so I've got to replace all those, which on the original greenhouse, Granddad's greenhouse, wasn't a problem. We managed to do it in a few hours, that one. This one took a lot longer. It's slightly newer, but it took a lot longer. We had a lot more nuts and bolts snap, but it's still a greenhouse that we are going to be used. And it's cost me nothing for the frame. We do need to replace some glass panels, which are going to cost, and a few nuts and bolts. But effectively, it's cost me nothing. And I'm always looking for ways we can save money. My greenhouse that I got at home, I bought using club card vouchers. It cost me £17 or something in the end. And then Granddad's greenhouse cost me nothing apart from glass. And this Granddad's is only going to cost me glass again. But while we were clearing out the old greenhouse, and you've probably seen this bucket sitting here, I discovered, I mean, the greenhouse today was full of a load of junk, but I discovered this pot in here, and it's full of this beautiful perlite, which that's probably a £10. Would have cost £10 from a shop. We've got a load of perlite that we are going to be using. So quickly, back to the comments. My garden at home faces northwest and the slugs eat everything I plant, so it's probably my only chance to keep this lettuce alive. Yeah, slugs and snails are a real problem at the moment. Even I'm having trouble, but I am finding that the grazers seems to be working. Joe Fleming, I started growing to overcome my addictions, and I must say I haven't looked back from it. Fantastic. I always am so pleased to hear when people have used gardening to get over problems. Addictions being one, and I know health problems as well. It always does really bring it home how good gardening is when you hear these stories. Fantastic. Well done, Joe. Amanda, lovely to see you. I'm not going to try and pronounce your surname. Lovely to see you. Evening all. I garden with my granddad from a young age. It's lovely to have my plot and think of our fond memories. Every time I grow something impressive or something funny happens on the plot, I like to think he's watching. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic to see. It's quite often a lot of people will say they garden with their granddad, and that's where it all started from. And I agree. I do agree. There is a lot to be said there. Joe says there are enough nuts here. Yeah, I'm sure there is. And Jenny says perlite really cheap on Premier Seeds. I haven't looked on there for perlite. I just know in a garden centre it's about £10 for a bag with that size of the pot. Uh, Plus, that's just going to go in the bin if I didn't rescue it. So I feel I've saved it. Turbo Stream says last time I looked at perlite, it was £10 a bag. Still yet to buy some. Yeah, I think last time I looked, I always like to add perlite um, to my mixes just to lighten the soil and help it, especially the germination side of things. It helps, I find, to add perlite. There is somebody contacted me a while ago who was concerned about the overuse of perlite, the overmining, a bit like peat. And she'd started using brick dust, which I've trialed, and it seems to be pretty good. But from a health and safety point of view, I cannot recommend it, just in case I get told off. Stuart Jackson says, I've been gardening for about 10 plus years, mostly flowers until lockdown. And after listening to this podcast and our friend Lee, I've now been growing veg, which I am really enjoying it. And with the Supporters Club help, I garden all year round. Well, I'm a big believer that we should be gardening all year round anyway, especially when we're growing our own food. We eat all year round. We don't hibernate and not eat. We eat all year round, so we need to have food available to us all year round. And if it's grow your own, all the better. It's not hard to grow food in winter. It's just different is the way I summarize it. And you have to think we're going to grow cabbages or Brussels sprouts or kale, a lot of the brassicas to get through those winter months. But there's still lettuce that can be eaten or grown during the winter months. There's absolutely no reason why we cannot eat healthy. And that's another thing, another one that answers this question about why do we grow our own food? To be healthy. I've always liked our fruit and vegetables anyway, and I always try to eat healthy. Yes, there are times that I do probably a bit too much succumb to things like McDonald's or the burgers and stuff like that. I'm not a health eating nut, but I do like to eat as much fresh fruit and veg when I can. I see that unhealthy stuff as being a treat, a little bit of what you like, as long as most of the time I eat healthily. And grow your own is a really good way for doing it. My wife eats a lot of salads, and she would buy those pound bags, which don't last very long, taste absolutely rubbish. We grow our own in our veggie bag, our veggie pod. She doesn't have to buy any more. She just goes out and cuts what she needs, and it's fresh and tastes better, and it's healthier. I'm really losing weight at the moment as well for that. Brian says you cannot beat the addition of river washed sand in compost for drainage. No dust like from perlite to worry about. Yeah, I think, is it you that's recommended river washed sand before? I've not tried it myself, but definitely something I should look at. Lisa has joined from Not Just Green Fingers UK blog. Hi all, sorry I'm late. Hope you are all well. Did anyone see Ghana's World this week? So chuffed as they put my allotment in the viewers garden bit. I was the last one of the free viewers garden. It did make me laugh seeing my plot. I'm sorry to say I don't have a TV, so I haven't seen it. But if anybody is able to send me a clip of it that might be on YouTube, or somewhere like that, I would love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. And there's a reason for that as well. Something I will add in a little bit. Digwell says, I bought 100 litres of perlite from Amazon for 20 quid 30 years ago. Still got half the bag left. 25 quid now. So that half a bag has gone up in value as well. Yeah. Yeah. The taste of homegrown food is on a different level to what you buy in shops. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And Turbo Stream. As I haven't used perlite, I confess not to know what it actually is or where it comes from. Right. So perlite is it's almost as light as polystyrene. What it is, It comes from volcanic areas. Silica has gone, if I remember correctly, silica that has gone through the volcanic process and high heated, and it becomes this almost like snow light fluffy stuff which basically acts as like a sponge. So I mix it in with my seed compost and it holds on to moisture. It becomes like a sponge, but also allows the water to drain through. And also if you use it as a blanket on top of your seeds, it's so light that the seedlings don't have any trouble breaking through it. So it's good for that as well. um, I think that's right. I'll probably get corrected on the perlite, but as far as I'm aware, it's superheated silica that comes from volcanic areas and is from the volcanic process, as I understand it. I know, or is it vermiculite? One of the two. Vermiculite is very similar in that same way as well, but it is a natural product in that regard. It's just gone through a very superheated process to get there. Uh, shall we, if I can find, because I haven't set it up. Oh, which one is it? Uh, this one. Right, let's have a look at some of the photos that have come in this week. Been a little bit quiet on the photo front this week, and not a problem. I only select one photo from each person just to try and break things up as well. So no, that's the wrong one. That's last week's one, which I thought I deleted. So apologies from that. It is this one. This one. There we go. So Kate, she's in the group tonight. She is back on the allotment after recovering from her illness. And you can see from that happy face how glad she is to be on there. She mentioned earlier she's been building a gate and a fence. That's what she's been building in this photo. And Kate, Chili Kate, she has had partial success with her sweet corn, which has been harvested and is looking absolutely delicious there. Corn on the cob is one of those meals that is just delicious, isn't it? We were meant to have corn on the cob for our dinner tonight. Actually, I just remembered we didn't cook any. Complain to the wife in a minute about that. But yeah, corn on the cob, delicious. We had a good lot of corn on the cob this year. Now, Stephen Tysast has been sowing some field beans on his allotment. We're going to go over to Stephen's allotment soon and have a chat. Field beans are something I'm really big fan of at the moment. We've got to resow some more, but they are great as a green manure to really work on adding nitrogen into the soil. And this is what's growing here. Looking really good, actually. Nice and neat. Now, Idaho sent me this picture last week of her garden. Unfortunately, I got it a little bit too late, but this is how our garden was looking last week. And that is it for this week. Like I said, not many photos have gone up, but please do keep posting them photos. It's always lovely to see. You can post them in our Facebook group, which you'll find on Facebook, obviously. You can send them to me in a message on social media, be it YouTube or Instagram, etc., or via email. I'm sometimes a bit slow at getting back at emails, but I always do see them. I need a secretary at times. There we go. Now, at this point, I'd just like to remind you all to please do give us a like, please do give us a thumbs up, please do give us a follow, please do give us a subscribe, and all that jazz. And don't forget to click the notification so you know when we go live. Idaho says, my garden looks basically the same this week. Excellent. I'm really liking to see the change on Idaho Gardens. A lot garden, because I've got quite a few built up and I'm flicking through them. It's really good to see the change that has been happening throughout this year on her plot, on her garden. It's striking just how well the difference is made. Thumbs up given, must go now. Good night, everyone. You take care, Lynn. Lovely to see you this evening. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, this cold. I don't. Has anybody else been suffering with this cold lately? I've had it this week, and it's been horrible. Been dosing up on Beecham's, try and keep myself going, but absolutely horrible cold, and I think there's quite a few going round. It's definitely, I think we were saying earlier, temperature has dropped in the morning, so keeping those what do you call them, fleece blankets to hand is necessary, and it won't be long till some of our plants really do start showing that they are dying back, because it is time over. Lisa says, lovely photos all. I've put the Gardeners World clip on the Veg Growers podcast Facebook page for you to see. I hope it's okay, as I took the video off the TV as it was on. That's fine. Absolutely fine. I will have a look at it a little bit later on when I finish this show. And see what I think of it. Now, talking of videos, I want to remind everybody, you can send in videos each week of your garden or whatever you're doing in your allotment. I've been thinking a lot about how we can improve this live show, and I definitely feel that some of your videos would go a long way. Taking a step back from the main subject at the moment, helping me out and chatting about these gardens and everything else. But what I also thought we could do, a few weeks ago, Oracle said that we've all become friends on this show, and I like to think that we've become a community of gardeners. We've become friends, and I will make a video next week showing exactly what I'm looking for. But what I thought we could do is an introduce yourself video, or a get to know you video. So what I would like everyone out there, if they are able to do so, is to take a video of yourself on your garden or your allotment or whatever, and just talk a little bit about yourself, so we all get to know each other. And each week I want to put one of those videos up. Does that make sense? I just thought, we're a community. I thought it'd be nice if we can all get to know each other a bit better. I know it's easy for me to say that. I've been doing camera work for a number of years now. I'm not afraid to be on camera, but it's just an idea. Added to that, each week I'm going to be sowing seeds, so we can do a grow along a bit more, and various things like that. I'm just trying to add more features to this live show to make it a bit more interactive, a bit more, because sometimes the conversation really does go really, really well, and sometimes I find myself running out of things to say and keep it going. So I'm looking to really build on what we have and make it better for everyone. Kate says, well done for getting on guard as well, not just green fingers. Yeah, fantastic. Really well done. Idaho says, okay, I will do it. Lovely. Thank you. Rebecca says, lovely idea. Nice to see the faces behind the names. Yeah, definitely want to see the faces behind the names. That's something I do. I know I'm not afraid to be on camera, so it's easy for me to say that, but it would be nice to see that. Oracle says, I'm not good at videos, Richard, but I can send you a get to know you letter you could read out. That'll be fine. It would be nice to see a video, but if you feel a letter, what I'll do is I'll raise a few questions up that I think would work. But yeah, anything like that, a letter would be fine. I can read that out. I'll probably make a video of me reading it out. So yeah. Jenny says, I'm just picking baby corn, beans and carrots, etc. for tea. Oh, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. It's nice, isn't it? Here we are, end of September. It's very cold. Well, the temperature suddenly dropped and now it's got dark. And we're still out there picking our own food, selecting food that we can eat right tonight. It's a lovely feeling, isn't it? I think, anyway. Yeah, I always like doing that. Always like doing that. And it's something that goes on throughout the week. This is why I'm a big lover of herbs. Herbs are one plant. If you have the tiniest of spaces, herbs are the only plant that I feel you can use in pretty much every meal. That's why I'm a big fan of herbs. Right, as always, phone line is open 073 07 135 174. Or you can zap in, if I add the link in the comments yet again. Zap in if you want to. Oracle says, I don't have a smartphone or any way to do it, just Richard. I will forward a picture of me and Miller. perfect, absolutely perfect. That would be great. I mean, don't feel anybody has to do that. If you don't want to, you don't. I just think it'd be nice for us all to see who is behind the name and get to know everyone a little bit better. That's what I'm thinking anyway. That's what I'm thinking. As you can imagine, I spend a lot of time thinking about what we can do with these shows, and that's one thing I came up with. Um, I know, like I said, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. It would just be nice. Right now, as I said, each week we're going to be sowing seeds. It's going to be tricky during the winter months, but we're going to do our best. So next week, what can we sow that I'll do live next week? I think I will do spinach. I'm going to sow some spinach next week. So give you a bit of a heads up next week. Not just green. Little Lisa says, I think you are so right about the Veg Ground podcast community being much more like a community of friends. I so enjoy listening on Sunday, and we teach each other so much by talking about our experiences on the plot. Absolutely, yes. I do think it is definitely a community of friends, and I do think that by everybody sharing our knowledge or our experience, we can help each other out. And that's what I want to do with this. So yeah, definitely that. Oracle says on that, what's happening with the Stuart Jackson Q&A? We're going to do it. I think Stuart said he was up for it. I just haven't messaged Stuart to organise it. So we will get that organised very, very soon. And yeah, we'll try and get that done very, very soon. It'll probably be something we'll do hopefully in the winter months. Just got to hope Stuart gets a decent phone signal in order to do this. So yeah, bear with us and we will sort that out. Stuart, remind me to message you to sort that out. Now, because it has been so cold this week, something I did at home with my greenhouse is I cleared out a lot of the rubbish. Well, not the rubbish. I took out my tomatoes. And basically, the tomatoes in there have been terrible. Barely produced anything, so they've come out. And some of the dead plants have also come out of the greenhouse at home. This freed up a bit of the area into which I've now pot in my peach tree, my banana tree, my lemon tree, my plants that are in need of a bit of protection over winter. And I do this every year. The peach tree you could probably get away with being outside, but what I find is we get peach leaf curl quite badly here. So I bring it into the greenhouse over winter until about May, and then I will bring it out. In the old days, the Victorian gardeners, they would actually grow peaches against the wall, and then they would insert these pieces of glass above them to keep the rain off the leaves in order to avoid peach leaf curl. And I've just adapted that. I've just kept my peach tree in a pot so I can move it in and out of the greenhouse. Julia has joined. Julia Hartley, good evening from Richard Voseby. Good evening to you guys. Hope you are well. Stuart Jackson says, do you know which seeds are coming next month? Just so I can get out and buy more for our school garden. I will remind you about the Q&A. Sorry, another question. When should I bring in my chili plant in? Thanks, team. So, off the top of my head, I cannot remember what seeds I'm sending out next month. I know I did. If you look at last month's newsletter, I do add what the seeds are on the end of that, so you can plan ahead. Just trying to think. We've got chives in there. I know that. I can remember that. Chives, broad beans, but I can't remember the other four off the top of my head. Corn salad is one. But anyway. I think you said green manure. No, I think green manure out in this month. In September, there was a green manure, the clover. I don't think that's in next month's. Don't think that's in October's. Anyway, I'll have a look and remind myself when I go in. Yeah, I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Stuart said, thanks. Forgot you did that in the newsletter. So for those that are wondering what we're on about here, sorry, just changing slightly off topic there. Members of my supporters club, I send out packets of seeds each month, a newsletter, etc., etc., and that's what they get. So yeah. Rebecca says, I'm so behind, no worries. The clover can still be sown into October, so it's fine. It's fine. What was the question? When should I bring my chili plant in? Funny enough, that tallies in with what I was talking about with bringing my plants into the greenhouse at home. My chili plants at the moment are still outside, but I don't think it'll be long before they come inside. In fact, I'll probably look at doing it next weekend. It's certainly dropping the temperature wise that they are going to need protection pretty soon. Where you are a bit further up north from me, you're not quite as warm as we get it down here. So I would think about doing it within the next few days. But again, keep a check on it. Rebecca says cauliflower. Yes, cauliflower is one of them. Corn salad, mabuna, chives, and broccoli. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There should be the sixth one, which was corn salad, cauliflowers, corn salad, mabuna, chives, broccoli. Oh, and the broad beans, as well. Is it broccoli? Yeah, broccoli. Yes, of course it is. Yeah. Oh, and broad beans. Yes, that's right. I do remember now. Yes. I know they're all on my kitchen table at the moment, so I should know them off by at the top of my heart. But yeah, we're getting those sent out towards the end of this week as well. So look at bringing your chili plants in now. I'm bringing in a lot of my tender plants are going into my greenhouse to be protected. The season is starting to rapidly come to an end. Although I feel this is the beginning of a new season. Excuse me, sorry, I'm really bunged up now. Ballycillian is saying, I've been buying seeds, so went through my seed box today and was happy I've got everything I need. So what did I do just before the show? Yes, I brought some more. Cannot help myself. Ballycillian, are seeds becoming more and more available in Northern Ireland? I know there's been a lot of trouble over the last few years with it all. But I'm just intrigued as to whether you're still having problems in the garden centres and what have you with just getting hold of these plants for you to grow. Again, seeds. We got so many seeds. I can keep going for a long time with the amount that I've got here. They do add up, don't they? They seem to breed seeds, and we're slowly trying to get rid of them or use them up. And I'm using more and more up this year. This is why we're going to be sowing seeds. What did I say? Spinach. We're going to sow some spinach next week to get some more plants used up on our grow along. So if anybody wants to sow spinach along with us as well, what we'll do, we'll grow them, and each week we'll come back and see how they are doing. That's my idea, and so we can add a bit more features to this live show. So 7 o'clock, everyone, half hour left of the show. If you do want to call in, 07307 135 174, added to that. If you want to zap in, the link is going up in the chat. I don't know if anybody has tried calling in. We had trouble with the phone last week, I know that much, but I tested it earlier and it seemed to be working. Turbo Stream says, I did sow the spinach from this month's seeds in my seed bed on the plot. I probably won't be buying many shop seeds from now on. Well, that's the idea. that is the idea, that you don't need to buy with the Seed Supporters Club. That you don't need to buy them from a shop so much. We're trying to do that. No, Bally Slin said about the trouble in Northern Ireland with getting seeds. I found a couple that say if they're confiscated, it's my loss. So far, so good. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. That might be, yeah, yeah. That's an idea. Is it too late to sow cauliflower? No, it's not too late. That's why we're sending a variety of cauliflower out in October's seed pack. So don't worry about, don't rush out. There is a variety of cauliflower called all year round, and as the name suggests, it can be grown all year round. So yeah, that would be great. Digwell says, I've just finished fermenting some Brad's Atomic Grape Tomatoes. I hope to have enough to send to you, enough to send. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that would be great, Digwell. I think that was very popular when we did it last year with the what do you call it, the marrow, wasn't it? Yeah, that would be great. Not just Green Fingers UK blog. Anyone having problems buying garlic bulbs from garden centres or nursery this year? I can't seem to get hold of any. I can't use my own as it suffered badly from white rot, and to save it, I had to freeze it rather than store it. Um, I've ordered some from. Excuse me. I've ordered some from the garlic farm on the Isle of Wight. Excuse me, God, that was every single thing that could come out of my mouth in one there. So apologies. Yeah, I've ordered some from the garlic farm on the Isle of Wight, but they haven't arrived yet. But I didn't see any issues on their website about it, so I think it's okay. Jenny says, Richard, I have butter beans, not ready to pick yet, but not long. I am stood looking at them. Super great surprise, as I haven't spotted them till just now. It worked. That I'm very surprised about, because I know somebody else, Richard Vobes, if he's still watching, he was trying to grow butter beans as well, and I don't know how his got on. So that is brilliant that they have actually worked. We might look at that next year to try and grow our own butter beans as well. Um, uh, I know they need a long, hot summer, so this year's been exceptionally long and hot, so it probably has worked for that reason, butter beans. Turbostream, I might have another crack at the cauliflower. Last lot was a disaster. That's fine. That's fine. And Digra says, loads of garlic at Malvern today. How was Malvern? How was Malvern? I really wanted to go to it. I totally forgot about Malvern. Yeah, I really wanted to go to Malvern this year, but didn't find the time. We'll put it like that. But definitely try again next year. I was very lucky this Friday. I went to Malvern Show and got seeds from DT Brown for £1 a pack. So I will not be needing any more peas this year. Well, I think last month we sent out peas, didn't we? So £1 a pack's not bad at all. £1 a pack is not bad at all. But I'm guessing these are going to be for the school as well. Richard, send me a message on Facebook because I can't do it on here. Okay, no worries. Is it? Do I need to look at it while on the show, or can I see it afterwards? Just in case it's something to do with this show or the conversation that we're having. Digwell, my butter beans reaped twice as many beans as last year, so next year I hope to have enough to eat. Started with 10 seeds. Right, I'm going to be trying to grow butter beans next year. As all you guys seem to be having a lot of success with butter beans. We do eat butter beans quite often here as well. So if you're all having success, I will grow them next year. That'll probably come up in one of our grow-alongs. Stuart says, Malvern's show was really good. Loads to buy and see. That's great. That's great. I've just got a slight criticism about when people say a show was really good because there was loads to buy. I always feel there's something wrong there. The show, you you have to pay money to get in. You don't want to be it to be just about selling stuff. Um, I kind of feel that when you go to a show, what you're paying for is the talks and the actual show itself. So the people on the talks, be it Adam Frost or Monty Don or whoever, that's where you're paying the money for the show. The selling stuff and everything else is, and seeing the showguns, of course, that's what you're paying the money for. But to be sold stuff, I just feel that's a bit of a cop out sometimes, personally. And it says, oh, he's just got in from a garden. And Rebecca says, what did you go for, Richard? I can't make my mind up on which garlic variety to go for. So my garlic, I went for the autumn planting pack, but I might also do the winter and the spring planting pack as well. Um, the one I did need was the elephant garlic because I have so much elephant garlic that grows well, and I save the seeds from that. But I always like the early purple white. That's always a good one. I can't remember the others that are in it, but the autumn planting pack of garlic. It says 4 varieties of garlic. One of those is elephant garlic, which I don't quite count. Digwell says the normal veg show side of Malvern was very disappointing, shockingly low quality. Yeah, I mean, it's been a hard year. I've known some of the people I know who grow the big vegetables have been unable to make it to some of the shows this year because it's been such a hard year. There's always next year, of course, but I've been thinking more and more. I've got a bit of annoyance with vegetable gardening shows like Malvern. It was highlighted by Hugh Fernley-Whittinstall as well. At the shows, they're looking for the best looking potato or the biggest pumpkin or whatever, but there's never a show or a category for the best tasting carrot or the best tasting French bean or something like that. That's the type of show I would really be interested in, the best tasting vegetables. If I ran a show, that's what I would be doing if it's possible. Gardening products and giant vegetables. Frosty was good. No surprise there. No show gardens at the autumn show, only in the spring. Lots of good people to talk to for advice, which I find really helpful. Yeah, I can see why talking to people for advice is always good. I mean, obviously, people trying to sell stuff do need to be able to sell their stuff. But yeah, getting the advice. Be nice to have a big veg show. What, a live show about big vegetables? Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. Not a bad idea. I would need, yeah, okay, I'll throw that down. I would need somebody that does grow big vegetables for competition purposes. I don't do that myself. I grow food. Okay, leave that with me. I'll have to put my thinking cap on and think of who we can come up with for that. I've just realised that I don't actually have I've left my notes inside, so I don't actually know what next week's topic is going to be. So if anybody wants to throw out a topic for next week quickly, we'll see what we can come up with. It is funny that they taste cakes, jams, honey, but not for veg, which is a bit odd. Exactly right. This is what I don't understand. You know, best tasting cakes, jams, etc., etc. Yeah, exactly. Best tasting veg classes. No, my luck, I'll eat the best and bench the bitter ones. That's fine. That is fine. Never thought about that, Richard. Veg never showed for taste. Our flowers ever showed for scent. Exactly right. Exactly right. It is. It's my annoyance. You know, I know, as Digwell does say, you can still eat the big veg. They taste the same. Um, I find certainly with the pumpkins, when I grow the big pumpkins, we still eat them, but they're nowhere near as good as, say, the Crown Prince pumpkins, the real edible pumpkins. So, yes, yes, they can be eaten, but there are better ones available for eating. And I same as the big parsnips or the big celery and things like that. They do tend to go a little bit woody, I find, which is all well and good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to hit on anybody for growing big vegetables. If that's what you want to do, fine. But I just feel it should be more about growing food to eat, in my opinion. Digwell says you can still eat the big veg. They taste the same. I agree. Yes, they do taste the same. And my 20-kilogram marrow fed quite a few people. Again, when we grow the big pumpkins, I mean, we're not the massive ones, but they have kept us fed for quite a few months, to be honest, because we keep the things in the freezer, cubed, etc., etc. So there is something to be said for growing a big food. However, like the small carrots or the smaller food, I always feel tastes better because it's smaller, in my opinion. And I think that's probably why their best tasting veg can be a little bit difficult. Topic for next week: the Q&A would be great. I would need a bit more time to organise that, but that would be something else. I was meaning the small giants that you see in the normal show, not the Malvern. Yeah. So this, not the record breakers. They do go a bit woody when they taste that big. Getting that like parsnips bigger than me sort of thing, and they do just go a bit woody and don't taste as good. I don't think anyway. Showing is all about the look. Just because it looks good doesn't mean they taste nice. Last year I spoke to a big veg grower. He told me he fed them to the pigs. He only keeps the seeds. And that's the key thing, the seeds, because that's where they can make a lot of money. I think the guy who a few years ago, he produced one of the biggest pumpkins on record, and it only had 4 pumpkin seeds inside it, and he sold those for something like £4,000 each seed. So he was raking in the money for that very reason, which is great. I've got no problem with that. But at the same point, it seems a little bit wasteful, in my opinion. Not just Green Fingers UK vlog. A few years ago, I grew a massive pumpkin by accident that was 24.5 stone. It must have been a rogue seed, as I did nothing special to it. It tasted awful and ended up in my compost bin, but it did raise money at our allotment open day as we did a guess the weight of the pumpkin competition. Yeah, so it's not been wasted in some ways. I mean, you could have fed that to chickens or something as another idea, chickens or pigs. So not completely wasted, but I mean, 24.5 stone, that's a big pumpkin. That's crikey. How did you lift that? That must have taken some lifting. Wow. Yeah, just occurred to me 24.5 stone is bigger than me. So that's saying something. The only trouble with the big pumpkins, etc., for me on my plot is the room they take up, so I don't bother. Yeah, I can see that. I do see that. They do. I mean, I grow food. This is my thing. I grow food. Don't grow the big pumpkins because I want to grow food that we eat. That's why I stick with the Crown Prince or Road Dividend Tempest pumpkins, and so on. Stuart Jackson says the biggest pumpkin at Malvern was over 560 kilograms. Was that this year? 560 kilograms. That's a pretty big one. Yeah. We'll have to get somebody that does enter these competitions to grow the big veg in on this live stream one Sunday to talk about it with a bit more experience, a bit more authority than what I would have on it. And Lisa says that 24.5 stone pumpkin took 8 people to lift it onto a pallet and carry it, and I had to use a saw to chop it up. Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Um, and Digger says that big pumpkin may have been rogue germination, not just for size but taste as well. Yeah, good point actually. Rogue germination. That's why it tasted awful. Good point. Good point. But again, those seeds were probably sold for quite a bit of money, I'd imagine. You know, oh, 1 year I might try and grow. It sort of persuaded me just for the sake of it to grow a big pumpkin, or I'm struggling. I don't know. I don't know. It's something I'll think about. Something I'll think about. Uh, that's given me an idea for next week. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. And it tallies in with what was mentioned earlier by Digwell. So next week, I want to know, what vegetable or plant will you never grow again? How's that work? How's that for a subject? Yeah. How's that for a subject? Something you will never grow again. Digwell says, like the courgette poisoning in 2019-20. Yeah, that was bad, wasn't it? When that cross pollination came along and the courgettes were poisoning people, which isn't unheard of, um, but does happen. Anything that trails, I'd rather grow up a frame to release more space for growing. That's a good idea, actually. Trailing plants do try and grow up and over arches or anything like that. Again, pumpkins and squashes, I like to grow inside my compost bins so that they use up that space as well. Um, yeah. I think the big veg are amazing, but like you mentioned, it takes too much room and really aren't tasty. I'm focused on food. Somebody like after my own heart there, focused on growing food. Uh, good, sounds good, excellent. And oh dear, my list will be long. And Turbo Stream says that's an easy one to answer next week from me. Save it for next week. Save it all for next week. Don't forget, if you've got any videos or anything like that you would like to send in, then please do. I will do a get to know you video from myself so you can get an idea of what I mean by that. Stuart is saying this year's show, it was small class than last year. The red cabbage, I think, ours at school were bigger, so we may have a go next year. We will only do it if the children want to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. If you're doing it in a school and the children want to do it, it's definitely something that they might want to do. And if it encourages them to grow, then all the better. But like much like Brian and a lot of the other people, can't afford to waste the space. For me, yeah, I don't want to waste the space. I just want to grow my own food that we can eat, and that's all it's about for me. Grow the best leeks, grow the best tasting alleys, best tasting leeks, best tasting pumpkins, best tasting carrots, best tasting everything else, so that I can feed myself, I can feed my family. I can give some of our food away to people who don't have the funds or the knowledge. I feel I'm doing my bit for the environment by it's reducing the amount of food miles. It's healthier, tastes better. And this is coming back to the main question of today: why do you grow your own food? Which we've been asking throughout this show, and it's been an interesting answer to this question from everybody out there. Now, the number one reason seems to be for the best flavour, which you can only get with grow your own food. And I apologise to any farmers for that. Grow your own or homegrown food will always taste better to anything a farmer can grow. Not because the farmers are doing anything wrong, but because the farmers are growing food to sell, so it has to be transportable, etc., etc. Supermarkets, that's what they're looking for. So yeah, flavour is definitely one. Reducing your food miles has been one of the other reasons. Knowing what's gone into your food, the organic side of it. So no pesticides, no weed killers, all organic, natural materials have used in. Gardening with nature has been a reason as well. And for mental health and our own health, it's been helping for that. So all these reasons are why you guys have been growing your own food. Now, Digwell says, totally agree, Stuart. What did Stuart say? Oh, this year's show, it was a small class than last year. So, yeah, all us YouTubers who had a meetup there said the same, smaller, lower quality. I'd look forward to seeing some videos on it and make my own mind up. I just want to grow tasty food at home as I have a small garden. Indeed, indeed. Um, Talking of small gardens, and I've said this on the podcast, and I quite often am saying this, just literally outside this shed, I've created, as some of you know, the balcony garden, which is a replica of somebody growing in a flat balcony. I've had so much fun growing in that small area. It's only about 1 meter wide by 1.5 meters long. I've had so much fun growing in that small area this year that I'm keeping it for next year as a more of a project. Added to that, we've got the patio garden, which has really been fun as well as my vegetable garden. Experimenting, growing in all these different areas has been really fun for me to also learn about how to grow other food. I just need I feel like I need to create other gardens to replicate, say, a shady garden, a north-facing garden, etc., to see what we can do in. Brian's Garden and Polytunnel. I grow my own because I grow varieties I can't buy. That was another popular question. That was another popular answer that came up earlier. Grown varieties that we can't buy, which taste better. Another reason for me to have a plot is to make a coffee on the plot and to drink it as I wander around and check the plot out on a nice sunny day. Yeah. In fact, this is just making me think. It's getting colder. It's dark outside. Trying to look out there. Now it's getting colder. We're going to have to try and get the coffee machine going on the allotment a bit more. Thank God I've got the camper van now. Ernie says, this show is one of the best yet. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot. Maybe because we have said why we grow our own food. To me, all of you are like teachers to me. Well, this is exactly it. This is exactly what it is about. There's no right or wrong answers in this show. It's all about finding out everybody's own opinions, own answers, and why they do what they do. This is what the question was last week. And next week's question, as I've said, is going to be, what won't you grow again? I'm trying to think of something that I would never grow again. And I can only think of one which I've not grown myself, but I've heard enough horror stories of to not try. Yeah. That sounds so nice, Turbo Stream. Yeah, one of life's best pleasures is walking around the garden with a cup of coffee early in the morning. We do it quite often here at home, actually. Make a cup of coffee, let the dog out. We go outside as well, even in my dressing gown, wandering around the garden. Got to go, guys. Digwell says, see you next week. Just seen how dark it is and it's not watered yet. Yeah, it looks very dark out there. You take care, buddy. We'll see you again next week. Do the clocks change next? No, not to the end of October. I use a cheap meth burner to brew coffee. It's my happy place. Yeah, I got a gas stove. By Digwell. And another reason for growing your own from Lisa is you can make good lifelong friends at your allotment sites. Yeah, I do think, this is where I said about the social side of allotments. It definitely comes into play on the allotment. I've got a few guys. I mean, it's a bit sad to share because I was talking to my neighbour a few weeks ago. I may have mentioned this at the time, and her husband used to be down a lot, and I hadn't seen him since the beginning of COVID, and she'd said that he actually passed away, which was quite sad. But she's still down there, and there's been a few people that I know on our allotment site that I've had good laughs and jokes with who have unfortunately passed away as well. It's always sad to hear. But that being said, we do make more friends, more people come along. There's an ex-customer of mine on my allotment site at the moment I have a good laugh and a joke with as well. Even nicer over a cup of coffee, isn't it? Stuart Jackson, the Veg Army. This Veg Army is amazing. Everyone wants to help each other in the best way, not talking down to people. We're all equal. We never stop learning. That's the idea. That's the entire premise of this show. It is not about talking down or trying to be better than each other. It's more about trying to help each other. So, with that, what I just want to add towards the end, if you have enjoyed this show, please do give us a like. Please do give us a thumbs up and a follow and a notification. No, a follow or subscribe or whatever platform you are watching on. And don't forget to click the notification so that you know when we go live. Yeah, that would go a long way, especially the thumbs up. It goes a long way to proving to me that we are onto a good thing with this YouTube, these live channels. Yeah. You can also find unsociable know-alls on plots. You can. There are always some people who are a bit. I'm probably a bit unsociable when I'm on the plot sometimes, to be honest. I mean, I always say hello to everybody, but at the same point, I'm there to get on with my allotment. So, and I want to get on with it sometimes. So there are unsociable people, but there are sociable people as well, and there are know-it-alls. But there is also you can meet those in anywhere in life, don't you? Thanks for another great chat. I really enjoy these. Have a good week, everyone. Yeah, I think we're going to start wrapping this up for this week. It's been good chatting to you all as always. As I said, we'll be back again next week for another live show, 6 o'clock on Sunday. And next week, what plant do you or will you never grow again? That'll be next Sunday at 6. On the podcast tomorrow, you're going to be hearing all about my greenhouses. That's the main theory or the main thing. And the video, if you probably noticed, I've started putting videos out a bit more as well. So yeah. Just quickly, Anna Jones says, Lisa, your allotment on Gardens World was brilliant. I didn't know your real name. There we go. Turbo Stream says, have a good week, everyone. Jenny says, sorry, I've been washing my veg. Baby corn is amazing. Have a great weekend, everyone. And Brian says, see us next week. Indeed, we will see you all again next week. Right, if I set myself up, I'm going to close this off and get out of here. So thank you so much for joining. And I'll see you all again next time.